Chapter 8. How indeed. The Star Darlings all looked at each other, unsure of what to say. Adora took a deep breath. Well, she began, allowing herself to blush a shade of sky blue. When we got your holotext, it just so happened we were all together. You, must have left the door to your office open, so we let ourselves in. But you were nowhere to be seen. So, star apologies, Lady Stella, but we used the secret drawer to open the passage. And here we are. There wasn't one lie in the whole speech. Well, maybe some little light lies. But still, not bad if I do say so myself, Adora thought, relieved she'd managed to stick to a fuzzy kind of truth. Lady Stella looked a bit doubtful and seemed about to say more. But then the sunlight streaming into the cavern brightened dramatically. Adora had asked herself star time after star time how that worked underground, and Lady Stella bowed her head. It must be time. Come, girls. The Star Darlings moved to the center of the Wish Cavern and gathered around the grass-covered platform. Adora's mind, usually so focused, buzzed with ideas, theories, and possibilities. That secret room, had someone tried to trap them there? Or was the door on a timer? And why was Lady Stella keeping so many secrets? Who had been that mysterious visitor in her office? Adora's thoughts switched to the upcoming mission as the platform opened and a wish orb floated up into the room. The glittering ball could choose her, Adora knew. But she wouldn't get that special feeling so many of the others had at the sight of their orbs. She just didn't have that intuitive sense. A couple of wish orb presentations before, in fact, she'd felt a definite tingle. This is it, she'd thought. This wish orb is mine. I'm going on the mission. But instead, the orb had settled right into Cassie's waiting hand. Now she didn't have the slightest sense the orb would stop at her. It hovered between Gemma and Clover, and Adora sighed. She'd just have to wait until next. Suddenly, the orb dipped and moved, swaying as if blown by a breeze. It first flew to Cassie, who unthinkingly reached out for it, but then drew back her hand. Then it continued, moving a bit jerkily, to stop directly in front of Adora. Adora held out her hands, and the orb landed on her palm, as softly as a flutter focus. The orb has chosen, Lady Stella said, just as always. Adora felt everyone's eyes on her, and she smiled. Each girl smiled back, even Scarlet, but Adora felt the tension in the room. They'd just learned the fate of Starland was in their hands, and they'd been trapped underground. The gravity of the situation hit Adora like a load of star bricks. She'd be traveling mooniums of floozles away to a distant planet, away from her family and friends and everything she knew in the middle of a wish energy crisis. What if she got trapped there? Adora brushed aside the thought. She would handle anything that came her way with logic and clarity, and it would turn out all right. That's it then, girls, Lady Stella said with a sigh. She gathered herself and moved gracefully to Adora's side. The headmistress reached for Adora's hand and gave it a reassuring squeeze. Adora couldn't help herself. She squeezed back. And for a moment, all doubts about Lady Stella flew out of her mind. Above ground once more, Adora hurried to get ready. She had to choose some wishling clothes from her Wishworld outfit selector and compose a reminder list of everything she needed to do on Wishworld. Chronological order would be best, she thought, from folding up her shooting star, to identifying her wisher, to collecting the wish energy. Another list spelling out Wishworld tips would be helpful too. Keep track of the countdown clock, monitor energy levels, use the mirror mantra, figure out her special talent. Adora walked into her dorm room, already starting to holotype, her eyes on her stars app. "Tessa?" she called. "Are you here?" "We're all here," said Cassie. Adora looked up with a start. The star darlings were grouped around the room, leaning toward her expectantly, as if they'd been waiting for her. "What's going on?" she asked. "Don't go," said Leona, rushing over and flinging her arms around her tightly. Adora waited a moment and then carefully removed herself from the embrace. She took a few steps back. "Do you know how dangerous this mission could be?" Leona said, taking a few steps forward. "Someone is trying to stop us. Who knows what they will do?" "Lady Stella is very powerful," Vega added. "Anything could happen," Scarlet said. "Stay home and bake astromuffins with me," Tessa cried. All those starlings in agreement. That was concerning. Clover wasn't telling any circus stories or cracking any jokes, and Cassie, smart as a glow-whip Cassie, was nodding seriously. Adora looked at Sage and Libby, the strongest Lady Stella supporters. "What do you two think?" They exchanged looks, and Sage spoke up. "We want you to be safe." "We don't want you to go either." Adora sat down at her lab table, her back to her friends. This was tremendously unusual. Everyone had come to her room to try to convince her to stay on Starland. Adora had read about this sort of gathering in a scientific holojournal just the other star day. Instarvention, it was called. In the holo article, an astro-energy scientist on a quest to spot the mythical Galliope comet could not stop looking through her telescope. She missed meals, bright days, even her own wedding. Finally, her family lifted her from her observation post, removed the telescope from her hands, and fed the scientist her favorite food, gamma chip clusters, until she saw reason. Reason, Adora said to herself. A key concept. Was it reasonable to go on the mission? Adora was nothing if not rational. She'd weigh the evidence. First and foremost, no starling had been hurt on Wishworld. At least, not yet. There had been Leona's return trip to Starland, during which she almost hadn't made it back. But that had been more of a cosmic fluke, Adora thought, since it hadn't happened again. Plus, if she didn't go, Starland would definitely be in worse shape than it was now. There'd be no chance for extra wish energy. If she did go, she could very possibly help. Besides, Adora felt confident she could reason her way out of any situation. As Lady Stella said, that was her strength, analyzing problems and figuring out solutions. The good outweighs the bad, Adora decided. She turned to face the star darlings. "I'm going," she announced, "and no one can convince me otherwise." She took a deep breath. As one of the 12 star-charmed starlings, it's my responsibility.